when we just try to plot all these terms in a single graph, and this red one is the rolling resistance and this blue one is the aerodynamic resistance, you need to supply a combination of power opposing these two, that is blue and red. So anything apart above this blue color line would allow your vehicle to propel. And here I have given a force, a green in color. So I have given this much amount of force, which is obviously higher than these two, and the total tractive force can be calculated when summing up all these parameters. So this will give you the acceleration of your vehicle. And think about what would happen for the same condition if the vehicle speed get increases. If the vehicle speed get increases, there won't be any change in the red color line. So that is, there won't be any change in the rolling resistance, but there would be a change in the aerodynamic resistance. So that is the blue color. Here you can just see the difference in enhancement in the blue color, and whereas the red color remains the same. And hence, whatever the net force that you are supplied would get reduced. And if the net force is reduced, your acceleration would get decreased. If the net forces get reduced, your acceleration would get decreased. So this is how an acceleration can be determined with an aid of the basic vehicle dynamic calculation. And what is meant by the constant speed or zero acceleration? At particular point of time, your net force might get zero. That is, whatever the force that you are going to apply get equals with the rolling resistive force and tractive force. If that is the case, at that particular point, your acceleration might get zero. So think about when you are just driving a cycle. At a certain point of time, without any acceleration or without any pedaling, your vehicle will be moving at a constant speed. At that particular point of time, what actually happens is, this is not only for a four-wheeler, it is for all the vehicles. So just imagine about a two-wheeler or a bicycle that you are driving. So the force that is acting on the wheel and the aerodynamic force, the air that is applying over you, and the pedaling force. The pedaling force is the acceleration. At one particular point of time, when when these forces are get equal, you doesn't need to get acceleration. But after a certain time, you can feel that you will get decelerate, and what you'll be trying to do is you will be starting to pedaling. So at that one particular point, you can just say that you are traveling at a constant speed or zero acceleration. That is the point at which your net force is equal to zero, or your net force equals the rolling resistive force and the aerodynamic force. So whatever the force that you are going to supply equals the rolling resistive force and the aerodynamic force. If you are just supplying any force above this blue color and red color line, any force over here in the zone, you can assume that your vehicle will start to accelerate. But what it actually at exactly in this particular point, at this particular point, you should say that you are having a zero acceleration, or your vehicle is traveling at a constant speed. So that what talks about this particular slide. Apart from the rolling resistive force and the aerodynamic force, another major force that the vehicle faces the gradient force. At normal gradient, the mass of your vehicle would be acting in one particular direction. But when you are just traveling in a gradient, the forces would be divided into horizontal and vertical direction. So at this point of time, the forces acting on the horizontal direction would pull your vehicle further down. So at the time of the gradient, or at the time of hill climbing condition, you need to take the account of your vehicle mass also to have the propulsive force. So think about traveling in a horizontal line, and think about the same vehicle traveling a hilly condition. Whatever the force I said earlier are only concentrating on a horizontal road surface. That is only the rolling and the aerodynamic force. But when you are just trying to climb a hill, you need to focus on the gradient force also. At the time of climbing the hill, the forces would be resolved into horizontal and vertical component, and this horizontal component would be pulling your vehicle further down. So at the time of gradient, the gradient force should also be taken into account. So what does this gradient force reflect in your vehicle speed and force curve? So this gradient force will just shift the overall profile of your rolling resistance. and the aerodynamic drag. So that would be looking like this. So assume this is your rolling resistive force, and this is your aerodynamic force. And if you are saying that you are climbing a hill of gradient of 5%, the overall profile would get increased to this particular part. And if you're just moving to a downhill condition, the overall profile would get shifted down like this. So whatever the vehicle that you are going to choose should not only take into account the rolling resistive force and the aerodynamic force, and also the gradient force should be taken into account. So if you are able to provide a tractive force to your vehicle opposing all these forces, that is rolling resistance, aerodynamic, and the gradient force, then you can just assume that your vehicle would propel forward. So this is where the gradient is equal to 0. But when your vehicle is getting down the slope without any acceleration, you will have your vehicle would start to move faster. So when the gradient is minus 30, let us assume your acceleration plus 3 meter per second square. When it is 20, it is 2, and when it is 1, it is 1 meter per second square. And the inverse, when you're just trying to make a slope, if you're just not providing any acceleration to your vehicle, what actually happens is when you're just trying to climb a gradient of 10% slope, your vehicle will be decelerating at 1 meter per second. And the same for 20% of gradient, your vehicle would start to degrade at 2 meter per second, and for 30% of gradient, 3 meter per second. So here you need to take all these forces effectively to calculate the vehicle tractive force. So if you just try to place a model in a MATLAB or any other tool, so the total tractive force can be calculated by vehicle acceleration, vehicle velocity, and the gradient. So you need to take into account the aerodynamic force, the rolling resistive force, the gradient force, and what is the force that you are going to give opposing all these parameters. And this force talks about the acceleration. If it is exactly equivalent to all these opposing forces, your acceleration is 0. And if it is less than this, you are going to decelerate. And if it is greater than this, you are going to accelerate. And with this, you can just create a small model in your MATLAB setup. For an assumption, I have just come up with a vehicle is having an speed of 200 kilometer per hour, and the acceleration is 4 meter per second, and the gradient that I have chosen is 30%. So if you just try to plot the force versus speed curve for it, this is your vehicle speed combining the rolling resistance and the aerodynamic profile. Let us assume for a 0% of acceleration, at the gradient of 30%, you will have a pattern like this. But once the gradient is allowed to get increased, you can just see there is a shift in this profile. And once the gradient is allowed to get decreased, you can just see a shift in this profile downwards. So here you can have a curved path for your vehicle speed versus power. And with this, you have to choose what is your operating range. So at what vehicle speed you are going to drive your vehicle, and what would be your maximum acceleration, and what would be your maximum gradient. So with this, you have to select your line. You can just choose this plot. So here your acceleration is, you can achieve a maximum acceleration of 4 meter per second with a gradient of 30%, or you can just have a minimal case over this. So this green color is, this is acceleration of 4 meter per second, whereas the gradient is 0. If the gradient is 0 and gradient is 30%, you can just see there is a shift in uphill over here. So in the profile will get shifted somewhat above. And in accordingly, you need to plot 3 to 4 profile like this. And after that, what you have to do is, here you are having the force that is required, the maximum vehicle speed that you have, and when you are able to multiply this, you will have the power required for your vehicle. So now you have to plot your speed versus power profile. Speed versus power profile of your electric motor into this particular system. So this is 100 kilowatt power motor, this is 200 kilowatt power motor, and this is 400 kilowatt power motor. And what is your desired operating location? Either you think you need to deliver, and this is 4 meter per second with zero gradient, and this is 4 meter per second with 30% of gradient. If you assume you need to deliver your vehicle, that your vehicle should deliver a 4 meter per second and 30% of gradient at 125 RPM, you need to pick a 400 kilowatt power motor. And if you think this particular plot itself is enough, you need to pick a 200 kilowatt power motor. So according to your particular case, you need to choose whatever the motor that you are interested. So for medium performance cars, it is often reasonable to have a maximum traction power of 150 kilowatt power. So in most often cases, they used to prefer a 150 kilowatt power. So if this is the case of 150 kilowatt power at around 90 kilometer per hour, your vehicle would be able to accelerate at 4 meter per second at a zero gradient. So this would be the maximum power output of your vehicle. So accordingly, you need to choose your electric motor power. So however, the 150 kilowatt power traction motor assumes it allows this car to accelerate at 3 meter per second squared in 110 kilometer per hour, which should be considered as a good or a quiet performance. So according to this particular resistive profile part and incorporating your electric motor power profile, you can just determine the optimum range at which your vehicle is the power requirement of a motor. So the tractive force required to drive wheels is made of driving resistance. So the resistive force or the rolling resistance, the aerodynamic resistance, the gradient resistance, and the acceleration resistance. So the formulas for all these has been given over here, and with this resistance multiplied by what is the maximum vehicle speed that you are going to determine will give you the power required for the propulsion. So with this power requirement, you can just choose your electric motor, and thereby you can just move into the electric motor performance plot. I hope now you are able to understand how an electric motor is chosen for any internal combustion engine based vehicle or your electric vehicle. So this is how an industrial person would choose an electric motor for their propulsion. So they need to calculate what is the mass of the vehicle and what is the road condition and what is the aerodynamic force that the vehicle is going to move, what is the gradient your vehicle is going to move. If you are able to grab all these data and try to incorporate into a single unit and plot your power profile of an electric motor, and you need to prefer which is your particular or desirable operating range. Accordingly, you can just choose your electric motor. So typically electric motor used in industrial application provide a preferred distant operating modes, so that thus it is easy for this motor to achieve the optimized performance. However, for electric vehicle application, electric motor operates at all operating ranges. In other words, the electric motor need to satisfy different driving conditions, such as frequent stop to go, high acceleration, deceleration, thereby requiring to operate at high torque density and efficiency over all speed ranges. As such, it is important to study the motor performance and efficiency of all possible torque speed combination within the motor operating envelope. So here you can just see the profile of power and the torque pattern for the motor power and the speed, motor speed. And when you're just able to plot these plot curve in the previous profile, you will be able to determine what is the power required for your electric motor. So the typical output